telling you with way more emphasis. I like this.
Yeah.
All right. How's that? Can everybody hear everybody?
There we go. Now we can.
Test,
I think we're good. Yes, chat says we're good.
Okay. Sorry,
Nice.
guys. I'm back from vacation. Clearly, my OBS setup is still on vacation.
Apparently, you need to turn it up a little bit, according to both Noah Paluchanak and Jacob Tucker.
I don't know who those people are. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's turn it up a little bit. I don't know. Do they want me louder? Do they want you guys louder?
You're plenty loud on my end. I don't know about. I guess it's
You
just
sound good on my
everybody in
end.
general.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that our patrons are calling me a bitch. That is...
Wow.
What's up, bitches? All right.
Apparently,
Anyway,
Steve is loud, according to Charlie Bird.
I was born loud, and I will die loud.
That is very true.
But I've also turned myself down. Are we doing okay, folks? I apologize. I'm back from vacation. I was telling Damiani
He's in
before the
vacation
show
mode.
started, I had to tear all of this down and then rebuild it. And I had to integrate a new piece into my setup that I'm not yet allowed to talk about. But if you follow me on Twitter, you know I mentioned that I got a tech video coming on GVG. And that's part of why you're
Now they're
hearing
saying that all of
differences
us
in
are low. So now you're too quiet.
volume. Oh my God.
Wow.
You
How's
guys.
this?
You're like
Hey,
my parents.
I'm just
Keep a
gonna
lane.
say,
What a Wednesday.
everyone goes through this. Everyone does
Yeah,
this,
that's
and
true.
it's like, and
Oh,
it's
totally.
it's nice how positive people can be about it, but also
Yeah.
it's like the smallest thing sometimes they'll never let you forget. So it's like,
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
y'all. Yeah,
In,
so
the, in the meantime, Chris Best, thank you for the $5 Canadian donation, saying, "Love you guys, keep up the good work. You were going on about crypto the other day. I wanted to share that I paid for my PS5 with profit from Dogecoin. Well, at least that worked out. Congratulations on that."
hey, that's
Jaden
cool.
Buck with a $2 donation. Is Steve going to die loud in his kitchen? That makes it's going to die with chicken in his mouth, just gurgling.
I did mention if I'm
Oh,
going to
God.
die, I will die in the kitchen. So, and obviously that would be a loud death. Any death in the kitchen
In the
has to be
kitchen.
loud. You don't die
In the
quietly
kitchen with
in the
chicken.
kitchen.
yeah.
Yeah.
What?
The
Take some
chicken
ingredients
kitchen
with
death.
you.
Yeah.
All right. So are we? Okay. It seems like
I think we're good.
I see people on the YouTube side saying no sound. Is that
No,
correct?
Really?
I don't.
No.
I think we're
I
good.
don't see that.
Okay.
on.
Sorry. I'm
I'll double check the
I'm
back
working
end,
with a
but-
bunch of different things right now.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. We're YouTube.
No,
chat,
I
say
just
it.
listened to the back end. I think we're all good now.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
We'll have a special little timestamp after the show, but going to the actual start.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yes, we will.
So should
Yeah.
we try this again? All right, y'all. I'm not going to go through the the intro music is gone. The moment has passed, but welcome to TNT season 2 episode 5 or episode 86 depending on what universe you live in. As you can see, I'm joined by my co-founders in Good Vibes Gaming, Ash Paulson in the upper left, Derek Bittner in the lower right, and our special guest Damiani of the Easy Allies in the lower left. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
I am very excited to have you back on. I feel like a lot has changed,
Yeah,
except for
man.
the fact that we have audio problems. That is
No, that
that will
always
remain
stays.
consistent throughout. But we have a ton of stuff to talk about on the show today. It feels like I haven't gotten to do this in a while. So forgive the
Right.
ring rust, if you will. But we have Steam, a story about Steam games coming to consoles. We have a new Donkey Kong game, maybe, kind of, sort of. A lot of cool stuff happened in the last couple of days, and I'm excited to have you on specifically to discuss it. So with that said, we have nothing else to get to except for the news, right? So let's
yeah,
go
no
ahead and
sponsor
get.
for today. So
Yeah, I'm still like working my
Oh,
way back
actually,
out of
know what?
vacation mode. Oh,
Sorry, Steve. We do have something to get to. You have, of course, been on vacation with your wonderful family for the past couple of days, and as I mentioned to you last night, we have not gotten to hype with you about Lost Judgment yet.
yeah.
We need to talk about that.
Good thing that ties into the first story.
Yeah, that's what,
Ash.
exactly.
It
what I was
really
thinking as
does.
well. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Man, I have watched this Lost Judgment trailer probably 5 or 6 times now over the past couple of days, and I am fucking hyped. I cannot wait to play this game. It goes to Yokohama, which is interesting. So we have some stronger ties to Like a Dragon, which we'll be talking about here in just a sec. But that trailer, I mean, the few like shots of kind of gore that you see in just that announced trailer are worse than anything I saw in the original Judgment, man. Like they showed like a rotting corpse and just like bugs all over it and stuff, which I thought was a little more hardcore than those series would typically go. The thing I find interesting though is they kind of reveal what the mystery is right at the beginning. You know, this guy is saying that he killed this dude. He's just admitting to it. And no one seems to really believe him. And I'm like, yes, I want to dig my teeth, or I want to sink my teeth into this so bad, especially after playing. You know, I'm on a detective kick. Ash, you and I just finished reviewing Famicom Detective Club, both versions.
We did.
And that was, you know, like it kind of whet my appetite for more murder mystery kind of stuff. And I like the fact that we're going to be seeing more of this in Lost Judgment. I think though. What I want to see is how this takes advantage of the PlayStation 5's hardware or next-gen hardware. I think that, you know, the port of Judgment that we recently all got to play was a nice little showcase of what could be, but I'm hoping that we see further visual enhancements and, you know, decreased loading times and stuff like that. I think the Judgment port did a good job of showing us that RGG Studio is getting familiar with next-gen hardware, but doesn't necessarily take full advantage of all that stuff just yet. Damiani, have you played any of the Judgment games, or are these not up your alley?
So this is funny because also Easy Allies community. I mean, a lot of the guys there are huge Yakuza fans and also Judgment fans, and getting Ben Moore or Michael Huber for this would have been like perfect. I am the least experienced with these games. And it's hilarious because my roommate across from me, who is Matthew Simmons from Yo Video Games, has also played all of them. And it's like I had a chance to just go over there and watch and stuff, and I didn't even do that. But the buzz around Like a Dragon, and now the Lost Judgment announcement, and the bigger announcements about like the future of the series, how the two are going to be their established pillars in each genre now. How I guess that's like kind of like the segue to the Yakuza story was the you know, that one of them is going to be Yakuza is going to continue forward as a turn-based RPG series, and Judgment is going to be like that action pillar. I feel like maybe now is the time to get in because it feels like things are kind of speeding up and getting even bigger for this series, because Like a Dragon was huge. It was like their biggest entry in the series, which probably explains why they're going to make it an RPG series going forward, because people really like that. And it looks like they're going to be turning these out very quickly because, as you said, Lost Judgment announced coming, September 24th? I expect like Yakuza 8 to be like announced like at E3 or something. Like this, it's so hot right now. Just like keep that train going.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Go ahead, Ash.
Yeah, no, well, and as Steve and Derek already know, and a lot of our patrons already know, I have been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's my first Yakuza game, not for lack of interest, just for lack of time. But I finally started playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I'm about halfway through now. I think a little bit more than halfway. And Damiani, I cannot tell you enough how much you need to play this game. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It is so special. It's just wonderful. And so if you're looking for a good entry point, speaking as someone who also hasn't played 0 through 7, or 0 through 6, I highly recommend it as an entry point. It is so good. So good.
It's the one that looked the most appealing to me from the trailers, honestly. Like making it into an RPG, it worked. It was very clever as a hook. For whatever reason, just seeing like the older games, like that weren't as intriguing to me at first, just on a surface level. But yeah, the goofiness, the insane, like the attacks they were showing, however the top it was just like, okay, I'm kind of in for this. It's also a time thing with all the other stuff I've been playing and working on. But the summer coming up, maybe there'll be some downtime after E3. It's like, all right, it's time to get into Yakuza. And it's good to hear, Ash, that it's a good entry point still to get in on the series.
I've said this on the show before, but I have never gone from not knowing who a character is to wanting them in Smash as fast as I have Ichiban Kasuga, the main character of Yakuza Like a Dragon. It really is that good, man. And I have every intention to play Yakuza 0. I hear that's an amazing entry point as well.
It is.
But I cannot recommend Like a Dragon highly enough.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
It's so much. It's so funny how much we all talk about this series when only Steve, and even then, not really, have played this series. Like, we've played so little of it, yet we talk about it constantly, it feels like.
My fandom knows no bounds.
And I'm just not going to get a chance to get to Yakuza 0 because of just time until after I finish Horizon as part of my stream series. So, yeah, it'll be a little bit, but I do plan to get to it. I do plan to get to it. I own 1-0 through 5, so we'll get there.
It is absolutely worth your time. And as Damiani suggested, there is more news about Like a Dragon that came out today. So I'm going to throw that up on screen real quick so we can just keep this conversation going, really.
Yeah.
And this comes to us courtesy of Nibel on Twitter. Sega's Shuji Utsumi told Famitsu that Yakuza 7, or Like a Dragon if you're following, was the most successful title in the franchise worldwide. He also stated that Sega wants to globally expand Atlus games by releasing them simultaneously worldwide and possibly on multiple platforms. This is good news. I mean, I'm glad to see that such a critically acclaimed game is also translating into sales success.
Same.
You know, I'm torn because I don't necessarily want to see Yakuza go full-on RPG for all of its mainline entries. But at the same time, now we have Judgment as kind of a spin-off, which could carry the torch of like the action based element. And I personally like the storytelling in Judgment a little bit better than Yakuza. But I don't want to see RGG Studio just become an RPG factory of sorts. I want them to stay true to the core gameplay that made Yakuza famous.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're... Oh, go ahead, Damiani.
That was going to be my biggest question as someone who is not experienced in this series. How does that announcement come off? Is the announcement that Judgment will be carrying the action torch enough to satiate Yakuza fans who, like that style? And it's like, how does that... The announcement that studio might only be focusing on RPG style games going forward, is there any kind of like resentment to that, or is it more optimistic feel you have?
It's funny. I've been kind of not monitoring, but I've been checking out some of the responses to that news on Resetera, just kind of seeing how people feel, just kind of get the pulse, like you were saying, Damiani, and it is very much divided. Some people are like, hell yeah. This makes me so excited. Bring on Yakuza 8, JRPG turn-based. Fuck yeah. And then there are other people who are like, I've lost Yakuza. Yakuza means nothing to me anymore. It's over. What happened to this series? My life is over. Like, they're very passionate responses on both sides of the aisle. And so this does seem to be quite divisive. And I'm not sure that Judgment staying that, that kind of action brawler style is enough to pull the people who are unhappy about this back toward RGG Studio, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on it myself as a fan of both games. I like the older games. I like the action elements to them. But I also really like a Dragon. I think it's a fantastic game, but I think a lot of that comes down less on the mechanical and gameplay side of things and more on the writing and the storytelling in that specific game. Because Ichiban is an amazing character. I love him. They deliver really well on a balance between comedy and action that I think a lot of games kind of miss the mark on. And so for me, it's kind of like, I think that it's a bit more accessible because of the way they design the game, but also I'm not sure that I don't think people are playing Like a Dragon and loving it because it's an RPG. I think that just happens to be one of the things that makes it interesting to people because it's, the next big entry in a series and they completely flip the genre. So that kind of draws eyes to it. And then people realize like, wow, the writing's really good. The characters are funny. The serious moments still work despite all the comedic stuff that goes on in other parts of the game. So, I mean, but that being said, I guess I wouldn't be upset if Yakuza does become an RPG series and we still have Judgment to kind of deliver that classic hit that a lot of folks are looking for from a gameplay perspective. I think both games do amazing jobs of being action games or RPGs respectively. I guess I wouldn't be upset if this is the route they take, but I hope that they continue to experiment with the series and pull it in directions that people don't expect them to, because I think that's probably more exciting than anything else for me.
I will say, when I hear people talk about the Yakuza series, it's always about the characters. That's what always seems to stand out the most. Like, you hear about the characters, you hear about I forget the town name, but how the town evolves with Kamurocho. How it evolves for each game and changes the different all the different mini games and all the crazy things you'll do there. Very little is actually said about the main plots other than Kiryu is best dad, and
He is,
and
though.
the combat. I see a few mentions here and there about how the combat has kind of shifted, but it never seems to be the thing that pulls people towards Yakuza. And same thing with Like a Dragon. So
one thing I think that works really heavily in Like a Dragon's favor is that, you know, Ichiban himself, he's basically a big nerd. He's a gamer. He loves JRPGs. He loves Dragon Quest, and the story and the characterization leans heavily into that because you're playing through the game through Ichiban's eyes, right? And so when you get into a fight with random punks and weird ass people on the street, they've got like these demonic red eyes, and like he sees them as monsters. He sees them as, you know, monsters in his own, you know, his friends are his party. He's in his own Dragon Quest game, and the game leans really heavily into the comedy that comes from that, despite the story itself being pretty dark and dramatic. The overarching plot, and they really strike that. It shouldn't work. It's so dissonant with the comedy aspect and the drama aspect, but for some reason they're able to strike that perfect chord between the two, and I think, you know, it helps that they're turning the series into a JRPG style game, along with this character who just sees himself as an RPG character. It's a lot of fun. Also, as Jake Pelka in our live audience patron chat says, Like a Dragon's original soundtrack, though, pure bliss, dude. Don't even get me started on Like a Dragon soundtrack. It is those battle themes are just, they're such bangers. And it's funny, one of my best friends, he is like the hardest core Yakuza fan. He's played all of them. He's 100% at all of them, and that's obviously, as you all know, a huge undertaking. Jeez. He's like, and he 100% at Judgment. He loves Judgment, and he could not be happier with all this. He's like, hey, I don't get the haters. I love Yakuza 0 through 6. I love Like a Dragon. I'm cool with it staying JRPG. I can't wait for Lost Judgment. He's very happy with it all. So there are people out there who are at least okay with it, even though they're hardcore fans.
Yeah, I would say as an outsider looking in, this is like this series is at the moment where it can really explode into something huge. I feel like it's like Fire Emblem Three Houses moment where this series is like going to cement itself as like a massive, huge series up there with the biggest names, which is very, someone who hasn't played this but heard all the praise, you know, said about this series, it seems absolutely deserving of this moment. And sometimes that requires change, you know, to get bigger. You can't stay stagnant, and it seems like Sega has really huge plans for this series, and this is the step that's getting them there. And I think it's very fitting that, you know, they're going to have like something that will try and continue the action style with Judgment, but like we're going to push this RPG series even further, because one thing I did hear is that the RPG combat wasn't the thing that was necessarily hooking you in and keeping you coming back. It was the characters and the story, and like Ichiban specifically was like, you're here for that. You're here for that. Right. But the RPG mechanics could definitely, you know, use some work. So there's definitely room to go up there, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. I do have a question though about this. With this series kind of exploding, it does feel like we're getting a lot of Yakuza announcements in succession here for the last few years. Is there any concern from any of you that this series might suffer from fatigue if they keep coming out too quickly? Like too much of a good thing, or do you think they should like keep their foot on the gas with this?
I think the reason there was so many announcements so soon is because a lot of them were remakes or re-releases. And now that that's all out there, I think it can slow down.
You know what?
Right. I mean, they haven't. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say I agree with Damiani. I think you absolutely can have too much of a good thing. These games have a reputation for being incredibly long. And when you, I know personally, you know, I'm still not very far into Like a Dragon. I love the game, and I know that I'll continue to love it, but I'm not that deep into it. And I'm already thinking about, like, crap, Judgment came out before I finished Like a Dragon. I had to go play that, review that, and now we're just a few months away from the sequel to Judgment. We're 4 months out. And I guarantee you I will not have beat Like a Dragon by the time Lost Judgment comes out. And then I'll have to circle back to that. And by the time Lost Judgment comes out, there will probably be a Yakuza 8 announcement. And it gets daunting to think about. I want to play these 70, 80-hour games. I still want to play Persona 5, goddammit. But I don't have that kind of time. And so it does get to a point where I'll look at a game like Yakuza 8, a hypothetical Yakuza 8, and I'll say, man, I still haven't beat 7. I'm just going to have to pass. I'm gonna wait, and eventually that waiting just turns into complete inaction, and I don't buy those games because I feel so backlogged by them already. So yeah, I think that there's a
Totally
real
get that.
they need to consider the consumer and how much time that person has, and I do think that it would behoove them to slow down a little. But like Derek said, I do think that now that remakes are out the door and that kind of stuff is out of the way, that maybe they can afford themselves some breathing room. I just personally hope that they take it.
I do too, and I think you brought up a lot of great points there, Steve. I mean, when we do decide to play, when we are lucky enough to be able to play a 70, 80 hour game, right? We're doing so with the knowledge that we're going to have to sacrifice the chance to play certain other games to do so. I'm about 50 hours into Yakuza Like a Dragon, and that sounds like a lot, but I started playing when the PS5 version came out in early March. We're 2 months out from that now, and I'm still barely halfway through the game, a little more than halfway. And that's across 2 months. And so, like you said, Steve, once Lost Judgment comes out, you're not going to have beaten Yakuza Like a Dragon. There's no way. And I probably will have barely beaten it at the rate I'm currently going. And so I do agree. I hope they do kind of take a bit of a break just to let the players catch up. But then, of course, I'm sure there are other people out there who have plenty of time on their hands, way more than we do. And it's like, no, keep them coming. Give me every 90-hour Yakuza game you can, and I'll play them all to completion.
Oh yeah. One thing we mention a lot on this show is that when you work in games in any form, whether you're in PR, whether you're making games, or whether you're actually reporting on games like all of us here on the show tonight, you don't play nearly as many games as most of the people that are fans of your work. I spent the last week with my brother and my mom and visiting family, and of course none of them work in games, and my brother has powered through so much stuff that I just haven't been able to beat. He's like got a shelf full of games. He's like, yeah, I already beat Returnal like 3 days ago. I'm like, I haven't beat Returnal, and I got it like 2 weeks before it came out.
Exactly.
I'm just like, it amazes me the kind of time you can set aside when you're not working on games in some capacity.
Still working my way through Resident Evil Village, so
yeah, I got Resident Evil Village. I picked that up. I don't know why. I don't have time, but I want to play
exactly. it. And by the way, on top of
working on it.
And the other side of that is that like those getting 50 hours into Yakuza Like a Dragon over the past 2 months, that also has come at the cost of I'm not playing anything else actively other than the games I'm reviewing, like Famicom Detective Club. Obviously, that that took precedent and other stuff, but in general, it's not as though I'm playing that and Resident Evil Village and Returnal and any number of other things. Like I had to pick and choose one, and I was like, I really want to experience this game. Sorry, other games. Well, I'll get to you maybe never, but I'm going to try.
Hey, I do my best to get to as much as I can.
Yeah.
And streaming.
I mean, it's funny because like you like playing games for assignments, but it also makes me think about the whole review process as in the traditional review. Is that even with so many games coming out, is that the most viable like use of time anymore for covering games? Because there is so many things out there to like play. Do you need to play a game to completion, or can like and do a proper review? These questions start coming up because time gets more precious. More and more games are going to keep coming out. Games seem to be getting longer, so it's like I don't know. I didn't mean to like open that can of worms, but it is something like I think about a lot. Is that maybe coverage needs to also evolve as well to like not have to, not like what is the saying, like master of jack of all trades, master of none type thing. Like that's might what have to be with gaming for some people, and maybe some people do prefer that where they just get like rough impressions from playing like a few hours or even just 10 to 15 hours and then moving on. So yeah, but I like for us it does feel like it never ends and you miss out on so much.
So anyway, talking about trying games, I don't think we're gonna have a lot to talk about this next one, but I wanted to bring this game up because I feel like it's been out of the spotlight for a while, so I'm gonna throw that on screen. And this is just an announcement of a demo. Scarlet Nexus, which you may remember as that like anime Xbox series title that was shown off before the console was out, is getting a demo. I believe this game is made by Bandai Namco. I could
the
be
Tales team,
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember. Okay.
So I'm kind of excited for this. It's not like a huge deal to me, but I feel like the timing is pretty good because I had forgotten about this game. I didn't remember it was a thing at all. And so I'm very happy to see that they've kind of put, or they're planning on putting a demo out. They don't even give a date for it. It just says that it's coming soon and that it'll be first on Xbox Series X and S. I still haven't figured out the way I should say that. Xbox Series of consoles, but
I think people say Xbox Series, or if you want to, if you're preferring to, you either say specifically Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, or people do the Xbox Series X/S. It's so weird. But so the one thing I wanted to say about this, when I saw you put this on the document, is the thing that actually has nothing to do with the game. It's about exclusivity for demos right now. Platform exclusivity. I personally don't have a problem with that because obviously companies need to bolster the strength and value proposition of their platforms. But with how hard it is to get systems right now, I think this is like the worst time to be doing console specific demos. And I feel the frustration of people who like, I would go out and buy an Xbox right now if I really love Scarlet Nexus and want to play a demo, but wait, it's kind of too hard to get, especially if it was a PS5 exclusive demo. Good luck with that. You know, there's not much you can do about that right now. So it would be nice if they were available on more platforms, but yeah, it's definitely a little frustrating with a shortage of the next gen consoles.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I'm in that same boat. I would ideally like to get an Xbox Series X at some point, but even if I was actively in the market for one, I couldn't get one. So there's going to be no Scarlet Nexus demo for me either way. And I think it's a great point. I could certainly understand the frustration on that front.
Yeah,
I'm curious about Scarlet Nexus, but obviously it's like, well, I gotta wait for the demo to come out for a system I have. I don't have a Series X.
There's actually some info here in the YouTube chat from Star Knight Lumina. Demo for Scarlet Nexus comes out on Xbox on May 21st, then on PS4 and PS5 on May 28th.
That's pretty good.
They should have put that in the tweet.
Yeah, I know, right? Seems like all this.
Yeah, good info to have. I do agree that it's kind of, it is kind of annoying to see that, we can't get these games on, or getting modern consoles is still hard. I actually saw a bunch of my friends trying to get a PS5 today, and I'm like, God, it's been 6 months since the console released, and we're still facing these, like, having to fight bots and scalpers just to get a console, which is disheartening. I would love it if I could, walk into a store and see a PS5 on a shelf. It would be a lot easier to recommend games to folks if I knew they could get the hardware to play it on. But at least in this very specific case, the game is available on PS4. So I kind of wonder why it's not on Xbox One, or maybe it is. I'm
not sure.
The YouTube comment I have in front of me does not mention it, so hopefully there's a silver lining. You can play it on Xbox One if that's where you choose to play. I kind of have a weird. I don't really have a preference on which console I play next gen games on right now. I don't think a clear leader in terms of if a game is available on both PS5 and Series X. I don't care too much which console I play it on right now. There's unless it's one of those games that makes really great use of the DualSense, I don't have.
That's what I was gonna say.
A major but those are by and large, exclusives at this point. Like Returnal makes great use, Astrobot, but I can't think of a game that's a multi-plat that has.
Village makes use of it.
Oh, does it? Again,
oh, nice.
it's installed. I just haven't,
because I'm trying to jam my knife button as fast as possible, and I was like, "Damn it, it's resisting me! Like, let me swipe faster."
Oh, that's cool. Man, that's cool. It is really a shame. Like Steve, you're talking about how people, you've seen people who still can't get them. That same best friend who is such a hardcore Yakuza fan, he's in that same boat, and he's been trying every day. Now he's not like doing nothing else. He has a full-time job, but he's been trying every day almost since launch to get a PS5, and he still hasn't been able to get one. And he's desperate at this point because he just wants to play FF7 Remake Integrate. He's like, I missed Village, I missed Returnal, I missed all this other stuff. I just want FF7. And yet he's still, despite his best efforts, and I'd say he's spending at least a good hour or two most days trying around his full-time job.
I'd be
He can't get
losing
one.
my mind if I didn't have
Yeah.
one. Ratchet and Clank was getting closer and closer.
Right? Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
man.
He feels the way about FF7 like the way you feel about Ratchet and Clank. Like it sucks for him.
I can't
That's
wait
just unfortunate.
to talk a little bit more about Ratchet and Clank later in the show because
I'm
there's a
excited.
my heart. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but to say something about Scarlet Nexus, I'm glad it's getting a demo because I'm very curious about how this game plays. Because
Yes.
it's the Vesperia team, I believe, that's making the combat for this, and Vesperia is one of my favorite combat systems. The Tales series has a great combat system for an RPG, but can they do like a real-time action game through and through and keep that up? You know, their fights, I mean, confined to like arena type environments in the past. So I'm really curious how this combat system holds up in a different structure. So I'm surprised it's getting a demo. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think that it's the right move because I think that they haven't done enough to communicate what the game is like to folks, and hopefully that we'll have the opposite of the Balan Wonderworld situation where the demo comes out and it convinces a lot of people to buy the game.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be a nice change of pace to get a demo and, you know, have it not be on a weird timer and have it actually be really fun to play. That'd be a great combination of things to have in a current gen demo. Anyway, though, we could probably talk about. I'm surprised how much mileage we got out of Scarlet Nexus's demo.
Me too.
I have a feeling, however, that we're going to get a lot more mileage out of this next topic.
Oh yeah.
And this is the one that the YouTube comments can't stop telling me to get to. The next Donkey Kong is allegedly being developed by the team behind Super Mario Odyssey. This rumor comes from a YouTuber that goes by the name of Lonely Goomba and is backed up by Zippo, a somewhat prominent Resetera user who is known for posting rumors with a track record. Let's say that they have a track record.
As much as these rumor mongers can have track records, because you know,
Right.
Yeah,
my stance on these type of rumors and people leaking things for clout, you know, stands. It's
Right.
like, all right.
What is
Yeah.
worth pointing out here, though, is that Nintendo Life says that they can confirm it has heard the same rumor from an independent, and they say very trusted source. But the difference in terms of what they've heard from their source, the claim is that the game will be 2 or 2.5D and not 3D, as the original leaker is claiming. But it does seem as though, I mean, this seems like one of those where there's smoke, there's fire situations. Obviously, this is still a rumor. Nothing has been confirmed. But given that Nintendo Life is also backing up this story or this rumor and from their own independent source, I feel like we might be in for a new DK game. And it is
so
time.
much to say.
You what?
I have so much to say.
I-
Of course, if it's true, though, that's the thing.
If it's true.
So-
That's the thing. It's
It's
like,
not
if it's true.
I got excited and / worked up for nothing. Like that's what I'm with you
know.
on the rumor thing. Like I've learned my lesson as someone who hosts a Nintendo focused podcast. It's like stop getting so invested in rumors and not truth. Like stop. Like this happens way too much. Even like the Star Fox Grand Prix had so many sources backing up.
That's true.
And was that true or not? Who knows? Like nothing has come of that since. And it's like, okay. But you never know. Something as crazy as Mario and Rabbids that everyone laughed at, like, that can't be real. This sounds horrible. And it's like, it's not only real, it's amazing. It's like,
well, and what also complicates things is that sometimes things may have been real, but then plans changed. And so it seems like the rumor was never true, but maybe it was, but plans changed. Like, I still do believe that back in the Wii U days, there was a plan to localize Mother 3. I believe Emily Rogers. I think she was right about that, but I think those plans changed. And that can just look for all the world like a fake rumor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very skeptical.
I should also mention that I've had a lot of people point this out to me in regards to the story that apparently DK Vine had a tweet quite a while back, I think last year, September of last year, saying that I've had it confirmed by multiple sources that this is Nintendo's long-term plan for Donkey Kong. Miyamoto has been advocating it. A lot of the younger EPD staffers grew up with DKC, and since 1993, they've never not had plans for the franchise. take it for what it's worth, and then somebody else backed them up about that thing. So apparently Nintendo at least has plans for Donkey Kong, according to this. Whether or not it actually does anything with them, we'll have to see.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I love Tropical Freeze. I love Donkey Kong Country Returns. I like most Donkey Kong games. They're good.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the one specific part of this that really excites me, again, given assuming this is all true, hopefully it is, maybe it isn't, is that Zippo says in his comments, the leaker, it says in his comments or in their comments that Diddy, Cranky, and the Kremlin crew should all be returning in this installment. So if all this is accurate, that excites the hell out of me because I've wanted the Kremlings to return to this series for so long. Not that I didn't like the Snowmads, the Tiki Tak Tribe was okay, but come on, it's the Kremlings, man. It's King K. Rool. That's DK's rival, man. It's like his arch villain. He's got to be in these games. And
it's interesting though. Didn't one of the sources say though that it won't have the country moniker, which might imply it's deviating from they don't want to develop a game that was already someone else's work. So
that's the same comment.
Rares. So would they want Kremlins back? That's the thing. I'm excited for Kremlins, but like, would they also want to stay away from that since that's so heavily associated with
well, didn't
right.
Donkey Kong King of Swing feature the Kremlings?
Did it?
Right, and so did DK64, and that wasn't technically a country game either. Of course, that was a Rare-made game, but
it was more the other people's work thing, not in stepping on other people's toes. So like, I'm both extremely excited but also a little worried or like disappointed in this if this turns out to be true. So to explain that, sorry. I'm not going to be thrilled if this means we're not getting a new 3D platformer from Tokyo EPD because I feel like Odyssey was ripe for a follow-up. We didn't get any kind of significant DLC in terms of like new kingdoms, and that team is so talented. Like I think they're only rivaled by Monolith Soft, their main Xenoblade studio in terms of like the best output at Nintendo probably. And I would be very upset if it's only going to be if it's going towards like a 2.5D platformer. If it's an addition, if they're working on multiple like platformers or projects, then I'm like thrilled. This is great. Like if we're getting this and we're also getting a 3D Mario game, even if it's another team, like sure, I want it all. I'm being greedy here. But if it's not, if it means Yoshiaki Koizumi is being put on I mean, if that's what he really wants to work on, then let that man work on whatever the heck he wants. He's like one of the best people at Nintendo right now, one of their best minds. But if it's kind of being like forced because like, oh, we want you to do this, I would be a little bit ashamed and disappointed by that.
Yeah,
I think makes sense.
Yeah, I think if we were to get a Donkey Kong game from the Odyssey team, for me, it would have to be a 3D platformer. Like a full-on, Nintendo's AAA best effort, letting their most talented team just explore what they could do with the character. That is what I'd want to see. I'm not convinced that's what we're getting, but that is what I'd want to see. I hate to be the person with like the needle in front of the balloon here, but Zippo doesn't have an excellent track record. He just doesn't. Nobody that peddles rumors on Resetera or anywhere else has an excellent track record. And I get that could be because of plans shifting and things changing, but a lot of times, I think it's just that a lot of these folks are people that grew up on forums and have their own standards for how they verify information and rumors, and it wouldn't pass journalistic muster in most places. And so they might see something that they believe to be credible, but they also, their experience consists of trading information online. And I've seen Zippo report on tons of things that never came to fruition. And just this one sounds too good to be true. It just, with the way Nintendo has treated Donkey Kong over the years, I don't think they're going to put like their very best and brightest team on it. But it has that element of a fake rumor, and I'm not going to go as far as to call it fake out and out, but it has that element of a fake rumor that is critically important, and that's that everyone wants it to be true, because we don't know what the hell we don't know what the Odyssey team has been doing, and we want whatever it is they're doing to be something really great, and Donkey Kong would fit.
Well,
Yeah.
but does everyone want it to be true? I mean, we were just, Damiani was just saying
Well,
that, like,
so
if it
yeah,
is, yeah,
well, I mean, this part about it being 2D because it
Yeah,
doesn't.
sorry.
The thing about it that is also just unbelievable because if it is 2D, Odyssey is like at the top of the charts, like what, like top 5 or it's definitely in the top 10. I forgot what it was, like top 5 or 6 best-selling Switch games right now, outdoing any of the 2D entries they put, like the Wii U port of New Super Mario's Brothers U. It would be insane not to follow that up and get like the sales numbers like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze port sold very well for what it was, but if this is truly like, I hope if this is true, it is a 3D, and I hope it is something that's doing something new and unique, because I think that's when Nintendo, especially Koizumi's team, is at the best, is when they're given full freedom to do whatever they want. That might have the potential to be like a giant seller, and this goes hand in hand with why I think parts of this rumor might not be true, because it doesn't add up in terms of like being like a huge seller or potential to be like a massive seller, because Nintendo is predicting that they're going to beat last year's sales figures, and they have their lineup announced through July with Skyward Sword HD, but we're expecting huge big other titles for the rest of the year if they're going to meet that, and like
yeah.
a 2D Donkey Kong probably isn't going to help that much. It'll be good, it'll sell well, might be the best selling Donkey Kong game, but like I think a big 3D new Donkey Kong game made by like the Mario Odyssey team doing something creative and new, just as insane as Odyssey, like has that higher potential, I feel like, to help boost the sales and move Switch units like they want.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I would, like you, Steve, I think I would probably dismiss this rumor out of hand. If not, the only thing that kind of keeps me like, oh, maybe, is the fact that Nintendo Life said they have verified the same kind of thing with an independent source that they trust. And that doesn't mean I think it's real. That just is the one thing that's staying my hand from popping the balloon, as you were saying.
It might be one of those things where some version of this is true, but not like the details are being befuddled.
Yeah.
Like, a new Donkey Kong is being worked on, and it's being worked on by EPD, and you immediately go to the Super Mario Odyssey developers. Cool, but it might be a different division that worked on other things.
Right.
Hard to say because a lot of times it feels like these rumors are a game of telephone. It's just like a little bit get changed each time. One person could be saying the same rumor to multiple people, and when they go to talk to each other, it's like, "Oh, you got the confirmation too? Oh, sweet, I got a confirmation too." Nobody ever reveals their sources because they don't want to out their sources.
Right, and
when you really look at it, it's only one person saying this, and multiple people confirming with that one person.
exactly.
And that's happened many times.
That is both. You just relayed the tale of Metroid Prime Trilogy and Star Fox GP in a nutshell there.
Right.
One thing though that also kind of gives me pause about this is I think about, we've talked a lot about a potential Switch Pro, right? And the general consensus is that it'll come out late this year or early next. And I can't help but wonder, Nintendo very clearly caught lightning in a bottle in 2017 with just a group of amazing releases, like one of the best lineups, one of the best years they've ever had. And if I was, in the position to make those types of decisions, I mean, we already know that they've got them working on Breath of the Wild 2. I would look at the Mario Odyssey team and be like, do that again, please. Please make it, recapture that and release it with our next, big hardware release. We'll give you the time you need. I keep thinking to myself that the reason we didn't get Super Mario Odyssey DLC, which would have just done amazing numbers, is that they had enough ideas to roll up a sequel, and that we're going to get something akin to Mario Galaxy 2, right? Where originally they were like, oh, we'll do an add-on. And then they're like, you know what? We could make a whole game out of this. Let's just make a whole other game, same engine, and we'll ship it. And I keep hoping that in 2022, that'll be the year that 2017 gets a redo.
That 5-year cycle.
Yeah, well, Juan just kind of said that in the chat. Juan in our live audience chat said, I think this year could be 2017 too. Steve, you're saying 2022 would be that, but it does seem like we're maybe coming up on another amazing year like that, potentially with I don't want to say the end of the pandemic, it's not really ending, but with the, things moving ahead again in a sense. But Steve, you brought up a great point there, and I agree that the part of this that doesn't quite fit for me is the Mario element. The fact that I'm still surprised that we never got Super Mario Odyssey DLC, and I agree with you. I think that's because they are just working on a straight up follow up, and if that's the case, how could they possibly do that? And a Donkey Kong game, 3D or 2D, whatever it is, it actually.
That's why I'm skeptical. It's not. It couldn't even be both, like that scenario was saying earlier. Also, to clarify something earlier, I understand to the YouTube chat, Donkey Kong Country series, both the OG and the Return series, have definitely sold very well. But what I was talking about was like 20 million plus seller. Like what Breath of the Wild experience. Zelda was always a good selling series, one of their best. But like Breath of the Wild just blew away anything it had ever done before, and so did like Odyssey for the 3D entries blows away anything the 3D series had done before. And I think they're shooting for that, like the astronomical numbers, like these Switch mega blockbuster numbers. And on top of everything that you just said about Odyssey, like why would they not be working on Odyssey 2? Like, it seemed like they had really great ideas, and they probably just started to, as you said, let's work on Odyssey 2. If they're not working on Odyssey 2, I have to believe they're working on a crazy new Mario idea. That's why it's taking so long, is that, oh, we are making a brand new 3D Mario that's even crazier than what you saw before. And I could see that, but yeah, some of this just doesn't add up when you look at it, closely enough and just think logically. It's like, maybe no.
Oh yeah,
right.
I mean,
112. Oh, good.
Sorry, the one connection we haven't made here, so I have to make it, is that we've all played Bowser's Fury, and I think one of the universal ideas that people had when they played that was that it felt like a test bed for new Mario ideas. Yep. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got something that was just an open world Mario game, and of course with more powerful hardware, that makes that much easier to realize. That's an idea I'd be happy with too. Get rid of the boundaries between kingdoms and let us just go through one big. Oh man, I could talk for hours about this.
You're speaking of Bowser's Fury,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Bowser's Fury, that's what I was going to bring up in our live audience chat. 112 said the likely reason for no Odyssey DLC was Bowser's Fury, and I find myself wondering. And look, I'm never going to wave off how difficult and time-consuming game development is. But do we really think that Bowser's Fury would have taken all 3 years to develop just that portion of it? I don't know if I believe that.
Ash, I will say, when I talk with Simmons, he is the reality check when I'm like gushing about Nintendo sometimes. He is the one who always reminds me how long some studios are working on a so-called project. It's like, what are they working on? Why is it taking so long? Like, it's been X amount of years. Does it really take that long for that to come out? And I have to say probably yes, because I think what we don't see, because we're not privileged to this, which I would love someday to be able to, like, someone release a documentary or book about it, is how many prototypes, how many scrap things they work on. I mean, that big leak last year kind of did show a little insight into, like, the older eras of how that went, but how many things they go through to get to that final, like, what this game is going to be. We never hear or see a lot about it. Even in the Iwata Ass stuff, we never got too much of that stuff. You never hear about it, and they will never tell you, because they'll shelve that stuff and might revisit it like 10, 20 years later. Oh, remember that thing we worked on? That's going to become memes now, because we worked on that like so long ago. Like at that GDC panel, it's like, oh my God, like they really don't want you to know their canceled ideas, because they're not really canceled. So I think that's just something we never get to see, and that's why we don't understand, like, why are they taking so long on this?
Totally good point. And as we were saying, Bowser's Fury itself does feel very experimental. And so it is certainly within the realm of possibility to consider that, even what we got, and I enjoyed Bowser's Fury, but even what we got was a result of many different permutations prior to what we actually played.
Well, as much as we could talk about Mario probably for another couple of hours, if you've looked in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you might notice that Derek has been storing his energy. And that's because of what we're going to talk about next.
I didn't realize this came out today. I just saw it on the news. I'm like, all right, I'm watching this now because I gotta be up on the up and up, because I've been busy doing other things today. So,
yeah. So this caught me by surprise, which is it's not always a welcome surprise, because I'm the guy that gets his code here at GVG. So I saw previews for Ratchet and Clank drop. And then for a minute there, I felt like a bead of sweat. And then I realized it was like Game Informer, IGN, PlayStation's own channel. I was like, whew, I did not drop the ball on this one, because there's no way No way I have the political capital or financial to to secure something like this.
Right.
But there is a ton of new Ratchet and Clank coverage out there, and I've reached the point in my hype for this game that I'm avoiding it. I saw some
same.
screenshots and I was like, man, I already like Sony, you already sold me the game. It's fine. You
Yeah.
got my $70. We're good. I don't need anything more. I'm going to play this when it's on my TV in my house, but I don't want to see it anymore.
Sections right now from IGN's preview footage. My God, these are so much more dynamic than they've ever been before. It feels like they're really taking some lessons from how to make movement just fun from the Spider-Man games. I mean, I've been oh my God, I'm a Ratchet fan since, sorry, it's just something cool. A Ratchet fan since the original came out in 2002, and I still remember that jump when I went from PS2 to PS3, and I'm getting that feeling again. This is just like, my God, what they can do now. It is just insane to me, and God, I can't wait for this game. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I will say my biggest the thing I'm most grateful for as a longtime Ratchet and Clank fan, this series never got the attention you'd think other ones would get. It was always Jack and Daxter or Sly. Ratchet and Clank was always sort of pushed to the side, despite, in my opinion, being the most consistently good of that original trio of games. And you know, it's also the one that's gone on the longest. It's just been so consistent, but it never really gets talked about. And it feels so good to finally see people talking about a Ratchet and Clank game, being excited for the Ratchet and Clank game in the way I have been for just about every one of these. And oh my God, it just looks so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so hyped for this game, just like you guys. I mean, you know, we've talked about this in other TNTs where we're covering Rift Apart. I am just so blown away by the technical showcase that this game is, and just I can't wait to experience the DualSense stuff. I know they're gonna nail it, and I'm just excited because this is really I kind of got into Ratchet and Clank with the PS4 remake of the first game, and that's a game that Ratchet and Clank hardcore fans constantly hold up as how not to remake it. And this is one that hardcore fans are hyped for. So I feel like I'm in for the most special, wonderful experience, and I'm so excited. I'm so glad I have a PS5.
I don't know how difficult it is to get at this point, but I really cannot recommend Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time.
I did play Tools of Destruction. I did play that, actually. My bad.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of times, a lot of these Ratchet and Clank games get developed in a very, very short amount of time. Believe it or not, that Ratchet and Clank remake, 10 months.
We've talked about that, which is incredible. And yeah, no, I didn't finish it, but I did play about half of Tools of Destruction, and I'm not sure why I stopped. I think I was just busy, but I enjoyed it. But I think the remake was what really kind of brought me into the series proper. And I know that's not even a popular remake. So
yeah, and it's good. It's fine. I enjoyed it myself, but it's, you know, it was definitely, in my opinion, a bit of an improvement in some things over the original. But that's because the original was just so old at that point. The fact that Rift Apart here has had way more development time than most other Ratchet and Clank games, you can see it on the screen. It is just.
The one thing that I'll say about this game, I caved and I watched like the first couple like minutes of footage, because I like to see these games captured outside of the control of the publisher, and you know, because there's always the chance, albeit slim, that the when we see these gameplay demos in State of Play or wherever you see them, that it's not representative of what you'll play when you have the game at home. And I assume, because like I said, I stayed as far away from hearing about the games as I could, I assume that these are on PlayStation 5 consoles that are owned by these outlets and that they're playing them in an uncontrolled environment. But damn, it looks every bit as good as it did, you know, when Sony themselves were showing it off. And that was all I needed to see. I just checked real quick. I'm like, yep. Still looks great.
There's some moves in here, weapon combinations and new weapons. Well, new weapons, but also kind of returning weapons. New variations on classic weapons in here that are just making me happy. It really does look fantastic.
Oh,
Uh,
Yeah.
so,
oh,
so
a
I'm
Final
sorry.
Fantasy Thinker fan,
Yep,
and
Hmm?
you're just doing that. The
hands
demo
off.
was hands off,
So,
Oh, hands off.
okay.
which
I mean,
it still looks pretty captured, you know.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna
it is very
say
controlled for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure because we had one go up on Easy Allies. Michael Huber did it because he's our big Ratchet and Clank fan as well. We need to
Mm.
need to hook him up when that game comes out. You need to have him on.
yes.
I'd love
To talk
that.
about Ratchet
Nice.
and Clank.
Would love
man.
that.
Yes, please.
But yeah, I wasn't sure about the details, so I wasn't sure. I definitely like knew he didn't go somewhere for it, so I was like, so when I didn't know, but I'm with for this. I'm more like you, Ash. I only played the 2018 remake, whatever it was, and told it was not very well viewed by veterans. But I mean, the last state of play for this game, I was like, I'm sold on this game. I can't
Oh, yeah.
wait to play this game. Everything
yeah.
you said about it, like I believe, as someone who's like not into this, hasn't really been in the series, I believed it. They made this series me hyped for this series.
Yep.
It's one of those games that actually legit looks next gen. With all these other games that have been like teased that are still like cross gen, this one, both like on the technical aspect of like the instant loading looks so good, but all the stuff going when they looked into that city area and they saw all the flying cars, everything going on at once, I was just like, okay, even if this is a scripted part, this is pretty insane. All these moving components going on having to be rendered in real time. Mechanics look so appealing to me, like the gunplay looks really fun, but the traversal abilities, like because this is at heart like an action platformer series and I love platforming, the grappling hook laser thing, lasso thing they were doing, and then running wall running. I was like, "You're speaking to me. This looks
Yeah.
great. Like it's just
Hell
like
yeah.
perfect."
Same.
Mm.
Same. Yeah, it seems to have an increased focus on platforming. Again, I can't say that as a veteran of the series, but just based on the state of play, it does seem like they're at least, I don't want to say doubling down, but they're at least focusing a bit more on the platforming
They
than I
found a way to
remember
sort
it
of
was.
enhance the platforming more so than because it's
Mhm.
always been kind of the basics ideas of it.
Right. I just feel like I remember the 2018 remake being more shooter than platformer, but I also
And there's a few Ratchet and Clank games that are definitely more shooter than platformer. Even by the third game in the series, it was more shooter than platformer
Gotcha.
at that point because that was what made them unique.
Right.
A lot of you never really had. If you look at the big three, they're not really traditional platformers in the same sense. It's Jack and Daxter was a platformer, but in GTA. Sly Cooper, a platformer, but with adventure and kind of more of a thief adventure element to it. And of course, Ratchet and Clank was on a platformer, but a shooter as well. And
Right.
you go into Damiani's whole thing about the city and how it's living and breathing. Even back to the original on PS2, there was a gun called the Visibomb, which you guided yourself and could control, and it went for as long as you had it. You could
Nice.
guide it throughout
That's
the
wild.
entire level, which means they had to have the entire level viewable at all times. It wasn't just rendering it as time goes on. Insomniac, it's why these games are kind of hard to port because Insomniac's very well known for kind of finding cheats within the system itself to make that work. It's so highly customized that when you take it off that original platform, it's a little harder.
Right.
So
Derek, just to piggyback off that, while I got your attention, you and Utterkambi in our live audience chat, I'm going to put you in the spot. They ask, Derek, out of all Ratchet and Clank games, which one is your favorite and why?
Crack in Time. It's a lot of people's favorite, but that's for good reason. It has the best,
Fair enough.
great balance of Ratchet and Clank gameplay. Clank has his own thing. Ratchet has his own thing. The puzzles are very fun. The new weapons are great. Best emotional story to it. Probably the funniest and most enjoyable that the villain of Rift Apart and Nefarious has ever been. And just I just stood out immediately. Just so much freaking
Nice.
fun. And according to Juan,
Nice.
made in 9 months.
That's just,
Jeez.
The turnaround
Ow.
Insomniac does is insane.
God.
Dang.
yeah, that's
Woo.
incredible.
So real quick, the one thing I want to mention about Ratchet and Clank before we move on is that I'm excited that one of the biggest like AAA PlayStation exclusive games is one that I also feel like I'd be okay playing in front of or even with my kids.
Mm.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
is so rare outside of
a good
Nintendo
point.
to get a good their best effort and have it be a game that is appropriate for all ages, really. My son and my daughter, they're both playing games on their own now. My son just beat Mario Odyssey, which was like a proud dad moment for me. I was like, oh my God, he's one of my own. But, you know, I'm excited to show him Ratchet and Clank and show my daughter Ratchet and Clank and see what they think of it, because I feel like it's amazing to think that I've got kids that are at an age where 20 years from now, they'll be like, remember that primitive ass Ratchet and Clank we played when we were little? I'm like,
so Steve, you're saying Steve, you're saying you wouldn't play The Last of Us Part 2 with your kids? I'm shocked, man. I'm confused.
I know, man.
Why,
I'm
why
such a
ever
bad
not?
dad. I coddle them so much.
I love these child-friendly Ratchet and Clank games when they have titles like Quest for Booty, up your arsenal.
See, that's the best part, though. My kids don't know what that means yet.
Oh, it's like Animaniacs.
If they do, I got a problem.
You don't understand the
Very
jokes that come back. It's like,
Animaniacs-esque.
oh my God, how'd they get away with that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, as much as we could continue to talk about this, I have a feeling that this next one's going to dovetail into PlayStation talk anyway. So let me throw that up on screen. And this comes courtesy of IGN. Valve president Gabe Newell, or the Gaben as he's known on the internet, has hinted at the idea of Steam-only games coming to consoles and said we should know more by the end of this year. And I'll be honest, I'm just going to throw out my quick hot take on this. He's talking about Half-Life Alyx, and he's talking about it being on PSVR 2. That's where I think that's going.
Makes sense.
That's a seller
2.
right there.
Yeah, and Half-Life 2 finally coming to consoles, I guess, was the other big thing I kept seeing, or something.
I thought wasn't Half-Life 2 on consoles with the what was it, the orange box?
Oh, yeah, Dad. Yeah, never mind. I'm not the biggest Valve follower.
Me
but
neither.
Alyx was like the obvious one. It's like Alyx needs to be played by more people. It's kind of like it's gotten high praise. It won our Easy Allies Game of the Year award, and I couldn't even play it because of I can't really play motion VR games because of my motion sickness. But very cost prohibitive for what it's on. So it coming to consoles and perhaps other VR solutions makes it maybe a little bit more accessible. More people get to enjoy that. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Steve. That I think this is the most obvious thing that this implies.
Yeah, when I read the specs for the PSVR 2, specifically the controllers, I was like, oh, it has finger tracking just like the $1,500 Index. I was like, what are the odds Valve is going to port Alyx to this? I mean, it just seems like it makes sense. I imagine the PSVR 2 will come in at no less than $400, or no more than $400 is what I should say. I hope that they target the $299 they've hit with the original PSVR, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right. I mean, go ahead, Jared.
I was just saying, what other Steam-only games are there? Because
that's my question. Yeah.
What
Define
Valve
what
developed Steam only games are there?
Yes.
Games exclusive to me. I have all of them.
I love playing games on
Where's that
Steam.
list?
112 says Portal, but no, like Portal and all that stuff has been ported to consoles before. Like Left 4 Dead on consoles. Like what is only on Steam? I'm saying it.
Only on Steam.
I'm not even sure it matters because Twitter. I'm not even sure it matters, this discussion, because Twitter is coming through, as always, with the spiciest takes. And the first reply to this tweet by IGN is, PS5 and Xbox players will both agree that we don't want any trash PC games. Well, guys, I guess the discussion's been shut down.
For me.
Some
Smoking
men
the crack
just
on
want to watch
Twitter
the world
said
burn.
nobody cares. Yeah.
I think that might be it. Yeah, these games might have come out previously, but they haven't been brought forward yet. So they're not available on the current gen consoles. So that might also be implying hey, our catalog is also coming back to consoles. It's been a while. It's been over a generation since you've seen any of these games come out, or Valve exclusives or Steam exclusives.
It would be interesting to get what is it, Black Mesa, that
oh right,
that Half-Life remake.
Yeah. Steve, I have to ask you, now that I'm armed with the new knowledge that you are in fact a gaming platform, Sammy Escamilla in the YouTube chat claims that you have the English version of Mother 3. Is that true? Can I play Mother 3 English?
Mother 3 is in fact available on Steve.
Nice.
That's going on Twitter later. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. We're winding down here, I promise. This one is, I don't know, the kind of stuff you hear every day, to be honest.
Yeah.
This comes from Nibel on Twitter, courtesy of Wired. PlayStation's Herman Hulse told Wired that there are 25 first-party titles in development for PlayStation 5 and that nearly half of them are new IPs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Cool. I like that. I mean, it's the same thing I think we've all heard about every platform since the dawn of time. You know, people making games. Some of those games are new games.
Right.
I don't think that the PlayStation 5 in particular is necessarily hurting from a lack of games. Certainly not in the same way that the Xbox series of consoles, or however they're called, Xbox Series, is hurting. Microsoft still has yet to release a big name game. And while PlayStation certainly isn't just hammering out exclusives left and right, they do have kind of this nice cadence going throughout the year of, you know, bigger titles. I would like to see more coming out of their first and second party studios, but I'm also not, I mean, I find a reason to turn this PlayStation on every week, so.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the most interesting thing out of this,
I think you're going to mention it, yeah.
I think, Ash, of course, Ash is also going to mention it.
Oh, yeah.
Nibel mentions that in the article says Ember Labs, who's developing Kena Bridge of Spirits, appears to have started to work on their next title as well, which will utilize the advantages of PS5. It's like, oh, cool, they're already making more stuff.
Right. That was actually not the part. Well, I was going to mention that
he
too.
was talking Horizon.
The part I was going to mention first, I was going to say, according to the Wired article, Horizon Forbidden West is still slated for this year. That doesn't mean it's confirmed still coming this year, but it still is slated at the moment for this year. Yeah.
That's like, I'm still skeptical it'll hit this year, but you never know.
Me too.
You know,
crossing my fingers, but I'm skeptical as well.
More optimistic about it than God of War coming out this year.
Yeah, there's no way God of War is coming out this year.
No way. I think Horizon has a chance, but God of War I don't think is going to happen this year.
We haven't even seen it yet.
Is this story like only getting any kind of traction because of all the kind of like stuff that was happening in the last few weeks about Sony closing studios, Sony only focusing on the narrative, that whole thing about like that was like misconstrued, and like this is reassuring people, no, we're gonna have a lot of games, like there's still a lot of games in development. We're not winding down and only focusing on a fewer bigger games. Like we got a lot. And that new IP thing is like, yeah, we're still making new things. We're gonna be like, we're still creative here over at Sony, and I wouldn't doubt Sony when it comes to, you know, their first party, because I mean, obviously, you know, people love to sing praises of like, you know, Nintendo first party being strongest, but like Sony is like almost equally as impressive in my book, and some of their like first party efforts in the last few years have been like freaking fantastic.
Yeah,
and I agree with that. And I find myself wondering, because of the strength of their first party IPs, you know, we've been told that Horizon's coming this year. God of War, we've not been told is coming this year, but no one really thinks it is anyway. But my question is, let's say Horizon doesn't make it, and God of War probably won't make it. Do they lean on third parties for the rest of the year? Because after Ratchet and Clank, I'm trying to think of what we know they're bringing out this year, first party wise.
Well, maybe it's sticking to, you know, the fact that it's E3. We got announcements at E3. Well, I guess
forgot the biggest thing that's coming.
What did I forget?
The official PS5 update to Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh,
that's
God.
Right.
No, thank God.
Obviously,
one of the best-selling games of all time. We're gonna carry it. Yeah.
Yeah. For a second, I was like, shit, did I really forget something obvious and big? Okay. Yeah. So I just wonder, like, what happens if Horizon 2 doesn't make it? That's 6 months of no first-party releases on PlayStation. Essentially, that would shock me. But it's not impossible. And of course, you know, the third-party support on PS5 is fantastic. But, you know, of course, there are games like Kena and that I'm Solar Ash that I'm looking forward to. But I'm talking about first-party big releases that, you know, on the Sony end.
I mean, at least Sony's had a few more than Xbox.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, a few more than none is you know.
Oh, no, the Xbox had that one horror game that you played.
Oh, the Medium.
Oh, right.
That's right.
Medium.
Yeah, the Medium.
I don't know if I'd rather have... I don't want to go as far as calling the Medium a bad game, but I definitely think it fails at what it sets out to do. It's not scary. It tries to be... It tries to be too different than what it's attempting to emulate at the cost of being interesting. It robs itself of its own tension, is what I would say.
Right.
All right, before we move on to the next story, we got a super chat, and I apologize, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but I'm going to do my best. Looks like it comes from Rene de Ecte, with a €5 donation, and all they've got to say is, "I really want a new Donkey Kong game."
Me too.
Same.
Don't we all?
I'd be
Same.
cool with that.
Yep.
If I would be glad to be wrong about that rumor, I would be really happy. I would
Right.
say I was wrong all day with a smile on my face if we got an EAD made 3D Donkey Kong. Damn, it'd be amazing.
My ideal scenario for that is we get what you said, Steve, an EAD made 3D Donkey Kong, but that the Country series still continues, and I might get a little blowback for this, but Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair was so fucking good that I would like to see them take on a proper DKC4. I think they could nail it. I get why people might not agree with that after the original Yooka-Laylee, but if you haven't played
No, Impossible Lair is great.
It is so much better, and it is a fantastic game.
What they do with the world map,
Oh yeah,
that
right?
Wow, yeah, that was it. That was something I expect from like Nintendo in terms of innovation. That was like
seriously,
insane. Yeah.
By the way, Rene de Ecte says you got it right, Steve.
Hey, all those years of foreign language classes in high school paid off.
Nice.
not that I don't even know what language I tried to pronounce, but hey, thanks.
I guess it's
I
French.
appreciate it. I tried my best. All right, so we got one last story, and I wanted to bring this up because I feel like there's a lot of confusion around this story circulating on Twitter specifically. Let me throw that on screen. This comes to us by way of Video Game Chronicle, or VGC, as some of y'all may know it, and it states, Ubisoft is shifting away from its traditional strategy of releasing 3 to 4 premium AAA titles each year, but plans to launch high-end, free-to-play games for all its biggest franchises. And this came from a update on their game development strategy during their earnings call that happened yesterday. Basically saying they wanted to be less reliant on those kind of big annual AAA games that we talked about. A lot of folks took this to mean that Ubisoft was going to be producing far fewer AAA games and leaning way heavy into the free-to-play arena. And Ubisoft themselves reached out to VGC to correct them and say that doesn't mean they're going to release fewer premium games. It just means that they want to find a way to better monetize that free-to-play model, which is, I mean, that's just a fancy way of saying we're doing what literally everyone else is doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Didn't it also come out that EA like announced their financials and like only 25% of their revenue comes from actually selling their games? Like
Yeah.
the game itself. The rest is from like DLC, microtransactions, that sort of stuff.
I read something about that.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It was either EA or somebody recently said that that those supplementary transactions, and I mean, someone posted that graph that showed like the market share of what each kind of category has. And while console's still big, it's clear that like free to play / mobile is like just expanding and is like massively dwarfing, just what you can make on console and even PC console combined. So yeah, it's good they clarified the stance, because I can understand like the concern. Wait, I want my traditional Assassin's Creed games still. Don't make them like a free to play game. It's like, no, they're still gonna make those games, as you said, but they said, like, what's the quote? Free to play becoming a larger share of the revenue pie. It's not an indication that there will be less traditional paid games like Animal Crossing. Yeah, Animal Crossing and Ubisoft. That's the next crossover. Yeah, like they said, like it's expanding, not changing. So it's just them, as you said, doing what everyone else is doing, and I guess maybe people were concerned that some of those more shady or questionable business practices will start creeping into their quote unquote like traditional games, but until that actually happens, it's like kind of, there's nothing really like you can do about that, other than vote when the time comes.
Yeah, don't worry. This doesn't mean that Beyond Good and Evil 2 isn't still coming this year. Totally, this doesn't.
Oh yeah, obviously that's happening.
It's funny.
God.
There's still still has an official website and it says release coming soon. This is the dirtiest joke. Why would they even say coming soon?
Give up on it.
Well,
my
did they
God.
did they ever officially can Steep for the Switch? That was like
I
a
think
Switch
they
launch
did.
title.
I think they did officially can it, but if I remember correctly, but I don't quote me on that. I feel like they did though.
Yeah, maybe. I just remember it being a very long time of utter silence.
112 says they did officially cancel it.
Oh,
so.
okay. Hey,
Okay.
well,
Okay.
eventually. So we'll eventually get the cancellation on this too. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I hope that they find a way to finish that game, but I have major doubts. But yeah, it's not a big deal. Ubisoft is moving into, you know, they're going to try to get money however they can get money. If that means premium free to play, they're basically, this is a very long-winded way of saying they want to make a Fortnite competitor, which is what every publisher wants to do.
Oh yeah,
every single one.
Mm-hmm.
A premium.
If you don't think there's not going to be
AAA
a Halo battle royale, you're crazy.
Yep.
Right.
I got advertised Warzone on my PS5 today. I was like, no, for the 100th time, no. I just,
Yeah.
I don't have 100 gigs to give you, Activision.
Right.
How they've been monetizing, what was it, the Rainbow Six Siege and the Division 2? Like, I'm not as familiar with those. Are those just like standalone pay games? Do they?
I believe you just
Yeah.
buy them, but they have season passes every year.
Those seem like the two games, or those types of games seem like the most ripe for going in that direction potentially.
Yeah, they've kind of already have, because they did announce that the Division Heartland is more of a standalone experience that's going to be it's a mobile game, sorry, as well.
Yep.
Mobile,
It's
yeah.
free to, but it's free to play and all that. I understand that the Division is more like what's it called, the one from Bungie.
Oh, God, I can't remember.
Are you thinking
I
of
still
Destiny?
don't follow those kinds of
Yeah, no, Destiny. Thank you, frequent positron.
Destiny. I almost said Anthem. I was like, damn, okay, Destiny.
Well, Anthem was
I've been
trying to
playing
do
this
that
game.
too.
Why
Get a
can't we
room
get
full of
that?
Nintendo fans together and ask them to think of a service game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of sort of Destiny. Like, I played a lot of the original Division, but some of the things that bothered me about that game weren't fixed in the Division 2, and so I fell off of the Division 2 very quickly. I mean, within days.
Mhm.
It's hard for me to play a game in a realistic setting where I have a gun and I can shoot a guy in the head and he can just walk away. He's like, oh, that hurt. Man, you're a jerk. And just, it seemed weird to me because instead of like giving you, I like the idea of a setting like that, and I understand that they have to ratchet up the difficulty somehow, but making a guy able to tank like 5 shots to his brain just takes me out of the game. I'm like, I shot you in your brain. You should be dead.
Yeah.
That just makes me think, I mean, since I've been playing Village so much, it's like, I do shoot those guys in the head a lot and they don't die very quickly, but they're monsters. So
yeah, I was
think
going to
that's
say, at
excused.
least in the context of that, it's reasonable because you've got an 8-foot tall vampire lady and stuff. These are just dudes wearing like winter wear. Like, you guys should, I'm pretty sure none of that stops a bullet. I'm just saying. All right. Well, with that, before I do this, because we were specifically bet, we have a super chat from Skull Kid Tiger for $2 that says, "Happy Wednesday. Bet you won't read this. Ha ha! You've been proven wrong. We did."
Wait, how much are we betting though? That's what I want to know. How much did we?
Yeah,
just
I know.
win?
I don't know what the stakes of this bet were, but we won, and that's what's
Yeah.
important.
I think that's a
Exactly.
moral victory.
You get a brand new
Yeah.
Steve console.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's right. It's like the KF console, but with less chicken. More chicken, probably. All right.
I figured it'd be more chicken.
Yeah, I had to think about that one for a sec. I measured myself real quick. I'm like, nope, definitely more chicken. All right. With that, we've covered all of the major headlines from today's news. But before we go, Damiani, where can we find you? Like a channel like 5 times our size.
Oh, you want to know the channel? So yeah, you can check us out. All of our video content that is free is on youtube.com/easyallies. We also are a Patreon-funded organization, so patreon.com/easyallies. If you want to get access to some of our patron-exclusive content, like our shows, like Achieve It Yourself, which just wrapped up, and Minigame Champions, which is about to start up again. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on Twitter at Damianicus on Twitter, and it's at Easy Allies for our Twitter handle, and twitch.tv/easyallies if you want to watch any of our streams, including potentially our reactions to E3 coming up in about a month, hopefully.
Ooh, man.
So
It's gonna be
soon.
a busy month for all of
We'll
us.
see if that Donkey Kong rumor is true or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. I keep thinking about the specter of E3, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's actually going to happen to some degree this year. We're going to have to cover some kind of homunculus of E3, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited for it. I'm very excited to be
I
able
am
to
too.
be back in that kind of hype zone and talk about games and be fully immersed in it in a way that we haven't in quite some time. And E3 still manages to provide that value in a way that other shows just don't.
Mhm.
So
Well, what's kind of cool about that too is that it's a bit of a milestone for us personally, in the sense that even though it is still a virtual show, it is technically the first show we get to cover as Team GVG, the three of us. So that'll be
that
really cool.
is correct, my friend.
Yeah.
But we're reaching the end of our show. It's been a long one today, and that's fun. I always like it when we have these, when we're able to have spirited discussion and have them go a little bit longer. But as y'all know, this is where I go into the bit where I talk about how, oh God, our credit screen is just terrifying. It is a nightmare mess on the screen right here.
Oh dear.
oh
but-
man, what is going on?
Yeah. Hi
Oh, I love
guys.
it.
I'm still on vacation. Hopefully y'all.
You can see.
Eventually,
you
we'll
can see
figure
four-
out the
Yes.
credits. Figured
I
out
have
in
to.
the
I have to
way.
give a big thank you to our patrons at the producer tier for helping to make this show happen. The bits of my face that are scattered all over the screen are very happy to be saying this. I promise. We couldn't do this without you. It means the world to us that you guys are supporting us and helping us do the things we love to do. Talking about games with all y'all, 3 days a week, doing these weekly discussions, doing these previews, reviews, all that stuff. We couldn't do it without your support. But we have to give an extra special thank you to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above for helping to make this show happen, for helping us keep the proverbial lights on, and for helping us scramble our faces all over the internet in a very terrifying way. I apologize for the nightmares you're undoubtedly going to experience because of this. But
So much ash.
I know,
Yeah.
shake that ash times 4 today. Here we go.
those fine folks include Jared Edinger, Brandon Bovia, Rob Arman X, Idiono Ben, Dan and Twistle, Dennis J, Z Patty, Hyrule Hermit, Sky Blue Flames, Adam O'Sullivan, It's ATM, Octo Puppet, Richard Herrera, Michael Phone, Aiko Carroll, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, Kitty Kong Vax, Angel Martinez, Vedran Hotik, 112, Macalau, John, Joshua Hunter, Evernight Studio, Benny Yao, Alessia, Azran127, Kenrule09, Jake Pelka, Geller, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Charlie Bird, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Doug Chomix, Andrew Medeiros, Orem M, Sakuragi, Becca, Rocks the Cat, Fizzywig Hoyd, Critmonger, The Legend of Groose, Eddie B, Kayed, Kit Fisto, West Egg, Masterlinks, Dina, Coda, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber, Straight Lace, Hoobie, Wolf X Blake and Moon Macarons, Ascaron 809, Kane, Captain Finlandia, 60 Minutes and 60 Seconds, The Game Orb, Dano the Artist, Ravelox, Synchro Lord, Brainchild, my mom, hi mom, Kotar Peck, Scuff 196, Skull Kid Tiger, AJB Cool, Blizzica, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Phantom Project, Wheezy Penguin, Darik, Stefan Nelson, Ray Clausen Jr., and finally, Nathan the voice actor. And remember that you too can become a patron over at patreon.com/gvgaming, where for as little as $5 a month, you can join our live audience here on the side and have access to our exclusive post show as well as ad-free content. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to GVG for fewer terrifying times like those and more episodes of TNT in the future. Good night, everyone, and good vibes.
Good night, everybody.